surrendering the nuclear program is just a code name for changing the regime's nature and dissolving the IRGC completely. Because this is why Araghchi, the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, seems to have realized this. And he came out on the state TV of the Islamic Republic. He said that the thing that we need to do these things is resist. Because Araghchi's understanding and the people against the Islamic Republic's understanding is that giving up their nuclear is just basically how you get your foot in the door, and then when you come in and then you want everything. And that's what the Trump administration is trying to do. Because here's the thing, this is why giving up the nuclear program is basically the end of everything else. Because how can you do that without having Americans come into Iran and check? So the idea is that if the Islamic Republic seriously wants to have 0% enrichment uranium, there needs to be an enforcement mechanism. And that enforcement mechanism requires a level of transparency and a completely new political philosophy by the Islamic Republic that would mean that there is no IRGC anymore. So the 0% enrichment uranium will change the Islamic Republic to the point that it's basically the same as the toppling of the Islamic Republic all the way, right? So imagining an Islamic Republic that needs to provide some certain level of transparency when it comes to the financial transactions, when it comes to Americans being able to see everywhere inside Iran where enrichment uranium could be happening. The fact is that IRGC, as it is right now, or the Beit Rahbari, which is basically the place of the supreme leader, all of that, the entire identity, their entire DNA has to change. And that would create such a degree of change that everything else would fall apart if something like that happened, right? So Araghchi's statement, of foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, stated just earlier that the challenge right now is standing firm, because he has realized that this is a trap, because retreating now means there is no limit to how far they would have to retreat. So that's why some people are saying don't worry about the fact that they're only focusing on nuclear. Even if they won't give in, but even if they did, it will things would turn in our favor. So the domino effect would be like that. So accepting the terms of US, even if you don't. So Israel is worried because Israel constantly wants to focus on ballistic missiles, and United States is only focusing, when it comes to negotiation with the Islamic Republic, is focusing on the nuclear part of the agreement, that negotiations, right? But there's a lot of frustration that right now is being signaled from Israel. Some people say that's a show. Some people are taking it very seriously. But the domino effect that people are talking about is like this. So nuclear verification, inspections of military strikes, destruction of that would be the first. So the first would be nuclear verification. Two, inspection of military strikes. Eventually, the domino will go destruction of ballistic missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads if they're already that deep inside. That's what Israel would like to see. That would mean the IRGC changing its nature, stopping terrorism, cutting proxy ties, joining basically the FATF, and if that happens, then we also get to it that that's an Islamic Republic that has changed to the point where it also would not be able to keep shooting at its people, because we have all of these international presence and transparency and observers inside Iran. I'm not saying any of this will happen, but I'm just saying if it did, then at that point the Iranian people would be able to come back into the streets in millions and demand the return of Pahlavi. And that version of Iran is not an Iran that would be able to stop them anymore, because that version of the the remaining part of Islamic Republic would not be able to then shoot into the crowds of people. That means that the Iranian people could go all the way and demand the return of Pahlavi, right? That's one point. So there's a clarifying quote that we need to talk about, because a lot of people didn't like this. So Trump recently said that the Islamic Republic are making an offer now that he would have accepted if they made it previously. Some people are saying that this was misinterpreted. If you listen to the context, he meant he would have accepted it 2 years ago when he wasn't the president. 2 years ago, October 7th, Biden wanted to return to the JCPOA. The regime refused, demanding the IRGC be delisted and guarantees that the US wouldn't leave the deal again. That was during the Biden. The regime refused to downblend 60% enrichment uranium or return to 3.5%. But now, before the 12-day war, Trump demanded zero enrichment and dismantling completely. Israel has since attacked and destroyed nuclear facilities. I mean, United States has attacked and destroyed nuclear facilities deep under the mountains, and now they would not so what Trump would have accepted before, because of the destruction of the nuclear facilities, they're not going to accept it now. So that's the context in which Trump was talking about. Now Trump wouldn't even accept even 1% enrichment of uranium. And also remember Marco Rubio's argument that I mentioned during the show. Enrichment at any level, even low, even like half a percent, is basically 80% of the path towards a nuclear weapon. This is why the Americans, now that they have destroyed the enrichment facilities, it doesn't make any sense for them to tolerate anything other than 0%. The regime needs the enrichment for deterrence. Even if they don't build, even if they don't have nuclear weapons, the understanding is that we're already 80% there. So this already works as deterrence, even if they don't have a nuclear weapon. I mean, their goal is eventually for them to put warheads on ballistic missiles, like nuclear warheads and ballistic missiles. But their understanding is that even if we have some level of enrichment of uranium, it still works as some form of a deterrence because we already have gone 80% of the way. So if you allow them to keep some minimal amount of enrichment plus their missiles, basically they can break out to a bomb in 2 weeks. This is what the Islamic Republic is trying to do. The Islamic Republic is trying to not have a nuclear bomb, but shorten the distance between not having a bomb and having a bomb. So they're trying to create, like, have all of the technology and the ability to just be able to bridge that gap as short as possible. So they don't want to, even if they don't have a nuclear weapon. So they basically keep the whole world out by saying we don't have a nuclear weapon, but also if we wanted to, we will have it in 2 weeks. That's the most ideal situation for the Islamic Republic. Let's actually go through the list. I have other points, but we could talk about it later.
BT just stepped away for a few seconds, but she wrote
Oh,
that I
sorry.
am first on the
Bad
list.
timing, BT. Exactly when BT had to
Okay,
go.
she put the list on the chat, and I'll also add Mozzie for her.
Oh, okay. So, sorry.
Yeah,
BT, I
Mozzie
did that
just
on
raised his hand.
purpose, BT. I did that on purpose to you. I'm
You just
just
want me to run. You're keeping me in shape. It's fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Mozzie, just raise
actually,
your hand while
Danny
you're
is.
gone.
Oh, sorry. Danny is
Uh,
next, but also we had a Jeffrey hand. Did you want to move on from this, Armin, or can we let him chime
Oh,
in?
Jeffrey, if you want to add something to all of that, go ahead.
So, yeah, you're right. You touched on a lot of key issues with regards to the Mullah regime's breakout capability. Even if, regardless of what the percentage is, the simple fact is, given the Mullah regime's past behavior, its pseudo theocratic motive, the only way to ensure that the Mullah regime does not get nuclear weapons or mass ballistic missile capability, which they're in the process of doing with CHICOM and Putin assistance, is for the Mullah regime to go. There's a reason why I posted in the discussion board with regard, not to disagree with you, I'm saying to further elaborate when you said, there's a reason Senator Rubio said what he said in 2015 and why that then Senator Rubio's statements have gone viral, right? It's to that very effect. 60%, you've done 80% of the work, it's or 90% of the work, then it's a real quick jump. You're right about the assessment of how the Mullah regime almost assuredly is trying to game this out. So to give them to survive or defer a strike, which I don't think they're going to be able to do, either defer or survive said strike. That said, that's their thinking. And while still maintaining the ability to tighten the window regarding breakout, right? In other words, like it won't even be 2 weeks. The other issue is, and this is something that the lieutenant colonel brought up in one of the previous shows that you posted yesterday on your channel, he had said that members of the Pakistani government offered to provide the Mullah regime whole turnkey systems, nuclear warheads, to attack the state of Israel. That's one of the alternative means or avenues of procurement the Mullah regime can indeed pursue. With regards to the Mullah regime right now, they're rebuilding their ballistic missile capability, actually expanding it to the point where they can produce 300 solid fueled, like short, intermediate, and medium range ballistic missiles a month. And the reason they're doing that is because they want to overwhelm any missile defense that the Iron Dome and or David Sling, the integrated air missile defense system that the state of Israel has put up. We're not taking into account things like directed energy. The point is the Mullah regime has to go, right? And it's going to fall either way because structurally there's all kinds of things in place now that lead towards its collapse. It's how do you ensure the least amount of damage is caused in their collapse? I would contend the least amount of damage is we strike the Mullah regime, and it should be a comprehensive strike. Why am I saying that this administration is still leading towards that? It's very clear we're setting ourselves up to carry out mass strikes. That said, because of the material support the mullahs are getting and the deepening target set, that's always a moving target. We moved missile defenses from Okinawa and or the Far East to the Middle East. That's not a small move. They just sat there and stopped the F-22 flyover yesterday that was scheduled to go over the Super Bowl. And the stated reason by the Department of War was it's being allocated towards carrying out legitimate operations in certain areas. I don't think they actually told where. That's all I wanted to expand. All good points. I just wanted to elaborate on the idea of what the options are available to the Mullah regime surrounding obtaining different alternative means they could use to obtain nuclear weapons or WMD capability. That's why the Mullah regime has to go.
All right, let's go to the list.
Yes, next we have Danny.
Okay, really quickly, I just noticed that Mosab Hassan Yousef posted a couple of hours ago, "No kings, no mullahs, free people."
Wow, so he's basically supporting the MEK with that chance. He's doing it, honestly, fuck that man.
Yeah,
Wait, is that specific to them, or you're saying supporting MEK because he's saying no to monarchy?
No, that's a famous MEK chant. No kings, no mullahs is a famous MEK chant. Nara, do you want to?
Full blown now.
Yeah, it's a very famous MEK chant. And by the way, Nara, can we get Nara actually giving a full summary of everything regarding Musab and because I wanted to actually talk about this at some point. So before Danny, sir, is that okay? Before we go to the rest of your points, we get Nara to actually.
I don't have the rest of my point. I just wanted to draw attention to it, and I posted the link in the chat, and I'll also describe that with No Kings, No Mullahs, Free People, he posted a picture that's one half of the face is Reza Pahlavi and the other half of the face is Ali Khamenei.
Fuck
that's
that,
it. You
man.
can move on to Nari.
Yeah. So Nora, actually, can you give us your opinion? For people who might not even know what the context is, can you just explain to us what the situation with Musab is, and then add your opinion to it?
Yeah, so I'm actually the next speaker too, so this works out. I've actually been following every single post that he's been posting from the beginning. First of all, he ignored completely the protests.
Wait, first explain to people who he is, like full context, like who is this guy before? Yeah.
So Mosab Hassan Yousef is the son of Hamas, he calls himself. He is the son of one of the founders of Hamas, who defected and joined the Israeli intelligence and worked against terrorism against the Jews for years. And so he has the trust of so many Israelis due to his stance on Hamas and Palestine. And we have had that same trust kind of in him too over the last few years. And but now, when it comes to Iran, throughout that last 3-4 years, I've noticed some things that he was posting were a little bit weird, like a bad taste in my mouth regarding a free Kurdistan. But I kind of ignored it, as we do when random people talk about a free Kurdistan. As Iranians, we've learned, we say, "Oh, who cares what they say?" But now with the protests in Iran, when it began, first of all, he ignored that all of these people are out protesting. No post about that. And then as time went by, the massacre happened, all these people are dead. And then now that Pahlavi's name is loud and clear all across the world, he started going hard against Iran and Iranians. And he doesn't call it Iranians, but he likes to call us Pahlavists, as if that's an ethnicity or whatever. So that's what I wanted to bring up, actually, when I raised my hand, was the issue of separatism. Normally, we don't really care what random people say, but my concern is that this person has the trust of many Israelis. My concern is if this would affect the mindset of Israelis towards Iran. He's been very unhinged. He posted a picture of Sacha Baron Cohen as the dictator, and he kind of compared it to Pahlavi. He called Iranian protesters as having no backbone, quote unquote, and that Iranians in the diaspora, Iranian women in the diaspora should cancel their Botox appointments and go fight the IRGC, another quote. So he said so many mockery things like that against Iranians. And then 2 days ago, finally, he showed his true narrative, which was a free Kurdistan. He posted a map and everything, and he wrote a huge essay-like paragraphs that he explained how he would get this done. And that is by having the Iraqi armed Kurds enter Iran from the Iraq border and kind of take control of the area and whatever. So he gave this whole explanation of how this can be done, and then further demeaning Pahlavi and Iranians. So that's kind of the gist of everything that's happening. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is I'm trying to figure out what is the right thing to do here. Are we supposed to push back? Naturally, that's what I would do, to push back and, just say, listen, you don't know anything about this, stay in your lane. Or should we ignore him like we ignore many other separatist speakers against Iran? And the only reason I'm debating this is because of the effect that this could have on the Israeli public.
Mosab Hassan Yousef isn't just some pro-Israel defector from Hamas or anything. After he defected, he worked for Shin Bet, the Israeli internal security organization, for 10 years, and he stopped dozens of suicide bombers. And then he went on every Piers Morgan or whatever and yelled very loudly in support of Israel. So it's not just
Why
the
is he
supporting
doing
of
this?
Israel part. He was
Well, why is
actively
he doing this?
doing stuff.
What is he doing this?
My personal opinion is that not everyone can be right about everything, and maybe
No,
he
I'm
just
saying if
needs
he's correct. I'm not saying what his what. My question is, what is his motivation?
that I can't speak to.
I think
I
that's
have
a
a
very
theory as
important
well.
thing to figure out.
I have a
Because I
theory
think
as well,
that's gonna give
Armin.
you the answer on how to proceed. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important to figure out because I think that's going to give you your answer on how to proceed. Is why is he supporting MEK? Like, what the hell happened? That
No, why is he so anti-Iranian people?
well, yeah. I mean,
Maybe you just
Nara,
don't
what's your
get
theory?
it right.
No. Nara, you give me your theory.
She said she'll be right back.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, God damn it!
So,
Exactly what we need.
Okay, here she is.
sorry, Samantha. I kind of missed what you said there because my audio went out.
Just give us your theory, Nara. Why do you
Yeah.
think he's doing this?
I think this part of it could be just back to the old roots of Arab/Iran Persian hate, because the language that he's using is far beyond geopolitical disagreements. The way that he's speaking about Iranians in general, the mockery language that he's using, this is far beyond geopolitics, in my opinion.
So he's not giving any arguments, right? Like
No.
he's just basically just anti-Iran, but he would
Well-
with zero arguments.
No, it
Yeah.
seems
Well,
that
no,
he's
it's anti-Iran, but his arguments are also that if Pahlavi goes back, there's going to be further chaos and a power vacuum. You know, the old anti-Pahlavi arguments that he doesn't have support, the same stuff that, if
He
the
doesn't have
Ayatollah,
support. So if he's anti-Ayatollah, Well, if he wants the Islamic Republic to go, that will create a power vacuum. The only thing that could fill that power. So what is his alternative? If he wants the Ayatollahs to go, then what would that fill that power vacuum?
2 days ago, he said a free Kurdistan will bring peace in the region. That's what he posted. because yeah, like
okay, that would
obviously,
ensure that would obviously start internal war for decades to come.
and not just internal war in Iran, but 4 other countries, because we all know a free
Yeah.
Kurdistan involves Turkey and Iraq and Syria.
If you want 4 countries to have a civil war, internal civil war with each other and within each other and against each other for the past couple of decades, advocate for it. By the way, this is why Israelis need to understand a free Kurdistan is really, really like that. The attempt to have a Kurdistan as a country is devastating to Israel because you're basically bringing 4 countries closer to the edge of being a failed state, which is perfect environment for more terrorist groups to grow against Israel. The instability would be so bad for Israel. I personally think that he's jealous because he was anti Hezbollah, anti Hamas, pro Israel, and the Iranians are so pro Israel, anti Hamas, and pro Hezbollah that they're basically getting attention away. We have basically it's kind of cool to be an Arab, a non-Israeli that is pro Israel, and there are now so many thousands of Iranians who are not Israeli but pro-Israel that is kind of making it seem not as unique and special anymore. And I think he hates that his position as a non-Israeli pro-Israel is now being challenged by millions of Iranians. I think that he's basically feeling jealous. That's my guess.
Yeah,
But
I have one more theory that I wanted to just add in there. I actually went and found his posts around the 12-day war. And he was very, very angry at the time that they didn't finish the job, that they did not remove the Ayatollah, that why is this happening? He posted, quote unquote, the United States' top priority must be removing the Ayatollah. Whereas now he's saying, no, we just have to push them in the corner so that we make them do what we want them to do. So I was thinking maybe somebody's paying him now.
No, I don't think
Nare,
so.
can you check on him? You know, it doesn't have to be now, but can you check back through and see if there are any other MEK style posts? Because Armin had mentioned jealousy, and certainly I can see that being a type of motivating factor, but that doesn't explain why he would have an MEK post. I mean,
maybe he heard it online by the MEK and he just likes it without actually knowing that it's MEK because he's anti-Mullah and he's anti-Shah as well. So when he sees an anti-Mullah, anti-Shah chant, he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to copy that. Maybe he just saw it and he was like, yeah, I like that. I'm going to go with it.
okay, potentially, but worked in intelligence. So I feel like
he's retarded. Like I think I don't like the fact that he is like I always by the way guys, I always thought that this man is retarded. I haven't been saying that because I know a lot of Israelis liked him, but I always considered this man to be retarded.
Yeah, so I don't think he is very aware of Iranian politics at all. So I don't even think he knows like all these details, like MEK, who they were and who the people, aside from the Ayatollah, who they are. I don't think he knows what's going on in Iran. Like he could know a lot about Palestine and Hamas, but I think what you said, Armin, is more likely that he just saw something and he said, "Ooh, I like this."
Yeah.
So the base of the question was, how do we respond to this? Do you have, having walked through that, Armin, do you have a suggestion on how to respond?
I think given that he's not giving, like if he had arguments, I would just basically respond to his arguments. But given that he's just like angry and just like basically swearing at the Iranians, I think ridicule is the proper response. And I think calling out him, saying he's jealous of the Iranian people because Israelis and Iranians have a strong bond with each other, and he was basically trying to like pointing at down and laughing at him. I think that's actually the best response. Ridicule.
Okay.
I think it's the best response.
Yeah, I was just thinking, should we just ignore this guy like we do with other people? But then he just like yesterday he was posting every 2 hours, and I was on a mission.
Like Just say like he's like Israelis, pick me. Don't pay attention to Iranians. I'm your special guy. Please don't look over there. Look at me. Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah, pretty
that's
much. Pretty much.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Armin.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome.
we are past the 10-minute mark on this topic, Armin. So I'll leave it up to you. Sammy and Samantha had both raised their hands to add on to this. Do you want me to add them to the list and move on, or let it happen now?
No, let's actually. PS also, I saw that he also wanted to add something to this. Yeah, but it's okay. Let's actually go through the people who wanted to add something to this.
Okay, go ahead, Sammy.
Hi, hello. I'd like to add to a point. People are not considering this insight. There is this huge energy demand, right? And the American lobby wants.
Wait,
Yeah,
energy demand. We're talking about like. Did you wanted to add to this Musab conversation? If
yeah, no, I don't. I just wanted
okay,
to,
so
yeah, add
let's
my
go back.
insight.
We'll get back to you when we get to your position on the list,
Okay,
guys. If you want to talk about. If you want to add to the Musab comment, just keep it very short because there are a lot of people on the list.
So
So
it's not
Okay.
about
Samantha,
Musab comment. It's about liberation of Iran, but it's not about the Musab comment.
yeah, so we will come back to you when we get to your position on the list. So Samantha,
Yeah. So I'm adding this to. Okay, I just put this in the chat. Yeah. So that's Mosab Yousef. That was his handler. So I've had this theory like pretty much forever that Mosab Hassan Yousef kind of trauma bonded, like Stockholm syndrome with his handler. So I would just be very curious, like, what's it called? What is his handler's views on Iran?
Very good point. And I would love for you to deep dive that and let us know what you find, because that's a very good
Okay,
point.
I
Like a
can,
mentor
I can.
situation, you pick up things from people. Yeah, very good.
Okay, yeah, I can deep dive into that.
Also, just
okay.
check on his sales of his book and the rating he has lately, because he might be just gone broke. So MEK is a good source of money.
Yeah.
I
Yes, yes. You
yeah,
wanted
I
to add
don't.
some?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think that they have anything to do with MEK. He hates communists and stuff like that. I think that the main thing here is mostly about the Kurds. So I think that he support in general Kurds separatist, and that is the whole deal. And like if then maybe talk with Kurds or something like that. I know that there were some things that happened between the Kurds and dynasty and stuff like that. If you ask me, that is probably the main reason for all of his remarks, not anything else. I know that you are against separatism. I'm just saying that that is probably the main reason, not something against
So
Iranians.
one thing we could do, I got your point. So one thing we could do is we could get Iranian Kurdish people to tell him to fuck off. Say I'm a Kurd and fuck off. Like that would be a good way to push back against him. Nare, that would be a good campaign to get Kurdish Iranians to come out and say I'm Kurdish and fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah, I've already seen many people, like all the Iranians are on it. But at the same time, he has 300,000 followers, but each of these posts are getting maybe 400, 500 likes. So that was my hesitation on should we actually give him attention or should we just let him say whatever he wants? That's why I was reluctant a little bit.
Good points. I think he needs a response though. Because
Yeah.
even if his posts are not going to get a response, he's probably going to get invited to somewhere big, and he's going to add this to his points.
Yeah,
You know, to
true. Okay.
Fox News, yeah, on
Yeah,
Piers
you're right.
Morgan, on Fox News, yeah.
Also, Tulsi gave his mind on that. He went hard on him, actually, lately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
Tusi went
everyone
off.
on X is going off on him. So, yeah.
No, Tulsi like did it on his report. Was
Yeah,
like on news.
he was like kind of F-bombing, but he doesn't say the whole word. He was like self-censoring, but he went pretty off on it. Yep. Okay. And Nare, I
I
love
think
the point that, a lot of Israelis, the biggest reason, and a lot of Jewish in diaspora, we know him as being a person who is strongly on the right side of a conflict that felt very obvious to us. And so to have him now in this conflict doing something very against Pahlavi, it's very concerning. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that concern very much.
Yeah, because I did notice a couple of comments that were saying they were Jewish and they were saying, well, maybe he knows something we don't. So it's like, I don't want this to change the mindsets of Israelis towards the truth about Iran and Iranians. That was my main concern.
I don't think there's a risk of that, except insofar as people who don't know any better just assume that he's not insane. I also noticed that he seems to be drawing energy from what he views as haters when everyone tells him Kosananat to his bullshit about
Oh my god.
contents.
Yeah. He
Anyway,
posts like a random map of a free Kurdistan, which includes territories of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. So I posted one map that the whole Middle East is divided into two. One is Israel and one is Iran. So that's my proposal for the Middle East. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's go to the next
Okay.
person.
Also, if the Pahlavi thing for any reason doesn't work out, Nare is my number 2. So next, Daniel Dome.
So I watched that video of that guy who like ended his life. It was also an Tusi video, and it just crushed
Oh,
me in so
but
many levels.
I think we shouldn't talk. By the way, guys, I think we shouldn't talk about that. Let me actually read this from Susie. Okay, so let me actually read this thing. I know that there's that video of that Iranian guy making an appeal to Trump before, like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it here. It's very important that we do not show that on the stream. That type of content is extremely triggering for people who are actively, you know what? A lot of people have been sharing that video on social media, and it is extremely irresponsible. I wanted to give you the, yeah. So I think, like, guys, especially given that so many Iranians right now are not in a good situation, I think sharing that video could actually cause more people to consider it. So I think that maybe we shouldn't be touching on that topic,
No, but
because I have
I
gotten
I
so many
wanted.
Iranians contacting me saying that they want to do something similar, and I have had something a really hard time trying to get them out of it. So I
So
think we
that's
shouldn't
that's
even.
my point. I mean, that's
Yeah.
my point. I wanted to make more like spread the thing that don't listen to what Trump says, watch his watch his deeds, and like um, I wanted to say something to like, is there a way to reach more Iranians to explain them that they shouldn't fall for that? Like they should just wait, because like explain them that there is a much more needed force rather than just a USS carrier ship, and that
Yeah, I mean that's what
if
we're
the
doing here. Yeah.
because the 12-day war is, if we compare it to like insurgents, the
So
12-day war.
so Daniel, you're trying to say that the war that Trump is preparing for requires a lot more preparation,
Yes,
than
and
that's why.
let me just finish it. The 12-day war was like applying broke bone gips. I don't know how to say it in English. Like if you break a leg and you go to the hospital and they just apply you
it's the cast.
cast.
Yeah, it's a cast.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. And the what is getting prepared is like super complicated operation where every wrong move can kill the patient. It's like open heart surgery right now. I just want to make this point so more Iranians would be able to understand it and understand that yes, they've lost a lot of relatives, friends, and etc. But the thing is that now is the time you wait and watch.
Yeah, I
And
just want to say, Daniel, I really do appreciate the fact that you care so much. Like, it means a lot. It does really mean a lot. Okay, I just want to say that.
And the other thing is, I can't actually, like, maybe it's a question, I don't know, but I watched like the protests are massive, if I understand it clear, and I approximated like that there is 5 million Iranians out of Iran. Is that a correct number?
Wait, what? The number of Iranians outside of Iran? I thought it was 10 million. Do you want me to check?
Approximately.
I could double.
Let's go on the minimal. And even if we have 5 million people that are out of Iran, let's say 10% of them is young, capable individuals, right? If the rest will fund them, and those 500,000, and I'm lowering now the numbers, I'm sure there are much more. But if the rest funding those 500,000, and those 500,000 are getting military training,
Yeah, that's not
later on, they might be able to just get into Iran, or maybe go by the Israel book, because Israel, what was in the before the Israel was before the 1948, lot of small militias such as Etzel, Lehi, Nili, and etc. were training in the French army, British army, prior to the World War II in the German army. Some of them were in some Russian army or stuff like this. And then they just created militias inside Israel, and they was acting toward liberating Israel also in the underground way. And I believe this is a playable thing. It's a playable model for Iranians. What do you think of it?
Jeffrey, do you want to respond to that? But can you keep it really short if possible? Thank you.
He's talking about how can you best leverage the pro-Iranian protest elements within the broader Persian diaspora and co-aligned actors, where they can support kinetic operations either within Iran, right, and or in support of Iranian protesters. There's a reason I keep pushing the idea of adopting Ukraine's model army. Right, the best way to do that would be to have, considering you won't call me, so fuck it, I'll just say it here because that's what you want. It is to have people within the broader Persian diaspora to create self-sustaining nodes that then sit there and build asymmetric kinds of capabilities that are then directly used to kill Mullah regime targets inside Iran. That's what you need to do.
So,
period.
So Jeffrey, I was actually going to talk to you about today calling you. The reason why I haven't called you is not because I don't.
I wasn't mad at you,
don't
Armin.
want.
I know you're juggling flaming chainsaws. Just like I'm not
Yeah,
frustrated with you. I'm just
just to
frustrated
let you
with
guys know. Just to let you know, I did 12 hours of live streaming yesterday, like
I'm not
12
blaming
hours
you.
of. Yeah. Okay.
Armin, I
So
wasn't blaming you. I'm
Jeffrey,
just blaming
what
the
do you
process. That's all.
are you on? Do you have like WhatsApp or something on WhatsApp? Okay. Do you have Telegram by any chance?
Nope. I just have. I sent it to you in personal chat. I wasn't mad at you, Armin. I'm not mad at you. I'm just mad.
Yeah, actually, very seriously. By the way, I have a question, because what you're suggesting requires, like, I don't even know if legally. I want to make sure, like, I have to talk to Susanna about
It
this
has
as
to be
well.
done legally. I understand that.
Because
That's
I
what
don't
mean,
want to
legally
go
done.
on my Persian YouTube channel and tell people, like, hey, guys, go make these weapons and this is how you fight. So we could talk
So
about
one of the
it.
things
No, no.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
no,
I
no,
know.
no, no.
So,
Do
okay,
not do it.
I'm gonna
Don't
continue.
do it. It's bad.
Yes.
What I was saying is that adopting Ukraine's model is they very much created organizations that could legally provide and engage in such activities. That's why I said when I first came here, there's certain things you need to do. There's certain requirements you have to follow. There's certain regulations you have to meet. SNAP-RR, State Department,
YouTube
ITAR.
community standards. YouTube community standards as well.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying, like, there's a reason I keep pushing Ukraine's model.
Yes, yes. the way that we might get the way that we might want to discuss this is not to tell people what to do at all, but just basically go over the news of what happened in Ukraine without ever suggesting anything to anybody. That might be, but we have to talk about that, right? So let's continue.
You do know that this is all being recorded right now, so your intention is completely obvious, right?
No, my intention, I am actually telling people that we're just sharing information that we don't know if people are going to find useful or not, and we don't even know if this is a good idea. But it's an information that needs to be out there for anybody that might find it useful from an educational perspective. I'm being completely honest about that. And also, I do know that talking about what people do inside a revolution, that is not, I mean, a violation of YouTube standards, but we're just going to be, we're not going to do that either way just to be safe. But I know that I've seen many other people do that anyways, because the understanding is that the Iranian people are under like basically are fighting a just cause. Like, because for example, when Ukrainians were fighting against Putin, there were many military analysts suggesting what the Ukrainians should do, how to fight back against Putin. None of that violated terms of service. But I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm just saying that it can't be that bad given how many videos on YouTube were there discussing war strategy. So, but again, I am like, don't worry, Susie, we're not going to do anything without me talking to you first, okay?
Next, we have Rebecca.
My question is for Armin. Given Islam's influence on day-to-day life and living, it seems likely to me that Islam can heavily influence cultures that are under its influence for long enough. However, many countries and cultures are under the influence of Islam, and they are not all the same. Many of the bad things associated with Muslims are dismissed as culture in the West, but I don't think the vast majority are able to separate culture inspired by Islam and culture separate from Islam. So, of the Islamic nations and cultures that you know, are there any common cultural threads, practices, beliefs, and perceptions that you think can be traced back to Islam? If so, what are they? And are there any that buck the trend? Of those that do buck the trend, do you know why?
Wait, so to understand your question, you're suggesting that among all of the diverse cultures that we see in Islamic countries, can we identify which ones are Islamic? Is that what you're asking?
I'm wondering in what way Islam has influenced,
Right.
some of them, and how and why, because there is this common thing in Western circles of, it's not Islam, it's just culture, you know.
Right.
And some of
So
it might be culture, but it might be culture inspired by Islam.
yeah, so we have to understand what we mean by culture and what we mean by Islamic, right? So to me there's two things that when people say culture, they're talking about two different things, and they're so different that there should probably be two different words for it. So when there's one category A of culture are things like dance, music, calligraphy, architecture, food, fashion, right? These are category A. People refer to this as culture. And then category B is values, way of life, moral
Yeah.
standards. So that's category B. For category A, I think category A, there's no objective way to judge category A. It's all subjective, and different people have different tastes, and the more diverse, the better. It's fine, right? You could have as much of it as you want, and people could choose whether they want it or not, right? It's category B in culture that we're usually worried about, which we could actually judge as superior and inferior, right? And they are objectively superior culture, or moral, values, and objectively inferior ones. And what we're trying to do is the category B culture. We're trying to basically eliminate the inferior ones and make the superior ones dominate everywhere, right? So that's what. So if we're talking about culture and Islam, I'm more concerned about the category B part, not the category A, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to Islam, so we have Islamic culture, right? Islamic culture, when it comes to category B, is basically Islamic values and Islamic morality, okay, Islamic standards, way of life, right? I'm not talking about the way the mosque looks. I'm not talking about Quranic calligraphy. I'm not talking about the Sufis dancing. That's category A. I'm talking about the values, the moral standards, the way of life. So that's Islamic culture. And to me, you could determine if something is Islamic or not based on whether it's coming from the areas where Muslims happen to be living, right? So, for example, something could come from a place where many Muslims live, but the culture is pre-Islamic or even un-Islamic or even anti-Islamic. To me, I determine whether or not it is Islamic or not based on the geography that it's come from, but based on whether or not there's any connection to the Hadith or the Quran, to Muhammad Sunnah or the Quran. If that's the source, I call it Islamic. That's how I
Yeah.
identify something as Islamic. It's not based on what Muslims do, because Muslims are influenced by so many different things. It's based on whether or not it comes from the Quran and Hadith, right?
Yeah.
So is that a fair categorization in your opinion?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like in the UK we have problems with things like the grooming gangs and things like that, and there has
Right.
been accusations that there is a religious motivation tied to that, and
Right. So
some people are trying to, yeah,
this is how you determine whether or not. So there's two ways to look at it, right? So first of all, you look at it empirically, and then you look at the source material that might influence this type of behavior, right? So if you look at it empirically, you can see like honor killings and those types of behavior that you're mentioning is very common in Muslim communities, no matter what the background is, right? So for example, let's look at honor killing. Is honor killing Islamic? Well, if you look at Islamic communities, regardless of their history, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their previous culture or like their own ethnic or historical culture that was not Islamic, you can see that honor killing is very, very common in everywhere that is Islamic. Like if you control for ethnicity, it doesn't seem to be the thing. If you look at their non-Islamic culture, it doesn't seem to be the factor. If you control for everything else, it doesn't seem to be factor. But you can see that the highest places that have the highest amount of honor killing, for example, if you compare Hindus versus Muslims compared like India and Pakistan, right? They have the same, like their ancient history, the same mix of ethnicities. So many of there are many things about them that are the same, but one of them is mostly Hindu, the other one is Muslim, and you can see the Muslims have more honor killings than the Hindus. It just seems to have to do something with Islam. The but if you but the problem is like a Muslim will come tell you, well, there's nothing in scripture, like in Hadith or the Quran, that endorses honor killing, right? And they would have a point. But this is how Islam is still to be blamed. Islam normalizes beating women. Islam normalizes the idea that you have ownership over women. Islam normalizes the idea that the shame associated for sexual misbehavior from the women in your family, that shame belongs to all of the family. So even though Islam doesn't go and doesn't have a command to, oh, go kill your daughter if she had like sex, with somebody that she shouldn't have, it doesn't say that. But the combination of these attitudes towards a woman and the cost associated with the shame coming from a woman in your family misbehaving sexually, it creates an environment where honor killing is more likely. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So also, for example, with this grooming gangs, or basically the idea that non-Muslim women are fair game, they're inferior to Muslim women. They're basically, these are non-Muslims. They're supposed to be property. Like Islam teaches all of that, right? Non-Muslim
Mm.
women are women that you could capture in war, and they're supposed to be property. You don't need to be treating them the same way that you treat Muslim women. These all are Islamic. And even if the people who do this don't really follow, like understand or follow Islamic teaching, the fact that that is this the scripture has an effect into the general feelings that people in that community have towards certain groups of women. You know what I mean? So you don't
Yeah.
have to be an Islamic scholar to have this attitude or have this belief. But the fact that the mullah, the imam in your mosque believes that and says things like that, that it generally and basically also teaches the mosque also have programs for your children, and it just creates a base, a mindset as a base for everything to grow upon, that just take things in that direction on average. Not all Muslims think like that, but the average basically leans towards that type of thinking. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
the effect is indirect. It's not like the Muslim goes and reads the hadith or like, oh, okay, so I can do this. It doesn't work like that. It's more about the scripture having, it's more indirect. The scripture has an effect on the imams or the mosque teachers or the teachers in schools, and they create a base or like a framework. Basically, it's like the soil is rotten, and then what grows in it is rotten as well. You know what I mean? Nothing good grows out of it. It's not like the people follow the scripture word by word, but it just tends to move in that direction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay, next we have Mazi.
Hello. I just wanted to say, Mr. Netanyahu going to visit the US this week. That would be a perfect surprise attack time. With the Islamic Republic thinking that they're safe till at least the weekend. But anyway, I was going to say, Armin June, I wanted to ask you, with this Khamenei coming out and telling people to, begging people to come out and for the 22nd of Bahman to come out to the streets, probably giving them free food or something to come out. I was just wondering, do you think that people would actually come out, or at least in big numbers, because for the support? Because with all this killing that's been going on, I'm sure some of the basic regular folks that even supported the regime, they're probably thinking that if they come out, they could easily get identified by the people that have just lost all the loved ones and everything, and they might have their lives be threatened. You know what I mean? That way, because I'm sure they'd be scared of that. So I think that we might not even see very many show up, because if they do show up, they might have all masks and covered up, I guess. But
So actually, before we continue, let me give context to people who might not know what you're talking about. So guys, Khamenei just came out, he gave a speech, and in that speech, there's this part that he sounds like he's begging people to come out into the streets for the anniversary of Bisodoi Bahman. Bisodoi Bahman is the 22nd of Bahman, which is Bahman is a month on the Persian calendar, which I think it translates to February 11th, if I'm not mistaken, on the Gregorian calendar. So pretty soon, like in 2 days, right? So that is the time that is the anniversary of the Islamic Republic's victory. The Islamic Republic basically every year has these rallies where people come and celebrate the Islamic Republic's win. But in this speech that Mozi is referring to, Khamenei sounded like he was begging for people to come out, and he didn't seem like he was sure people will come. He didn't speak with the level of authority that he usually tries to speak. Moses is asking whether people will come. He thinks that people will come because after the massacre that the Islamic Republic committed, Moses is wondering that maybe even some of the pro-regime people are not going to show up, right? I mean, Moses, you might be correct, because or else Khamenei wouldn't be this concerned, right? This is why it's really, by the way, for other people, you have to understand that this is very important for the Islamic Republic, for people to show up in that rally. It's extremely important because right now Khamenei's main worry is that a lot of people from the regime who support the regime might defect because they think that the Islamic Republic is about to collapse. And if a lot of people don't show up in this rally, it's going to confirm that to a lot of people, and more people will defect. So it's very important for the Islamic Republic to show that everything has gone back to normal and they're not going to go anywhere. Because if more people from the regime get convinced that the Islamic Republic is going to fall at some point, they're going to be planning for their own survival, and it's just going to speed up the collapse. So this is crucial for the Islamic Republic to show a lot of people showing up to show that it's not like the protests that happened in early January. A lot of people might think, a lot of people that demonstrated how unpopular the regime is. So they need to now show their numbers to be high as well, to demonstrate to them, like, we have millions of supporters anyway, so we're not going to go anywhere. So Mozi, to answer your question, I mean, you have a good point, or else he wouldn't be begging for people to show up. However, one thing that you have to also keep in mind is, because this is such an important thing for this regime to happen, they're going to be doing anything, all the tricks that they have been using in the past 47 years. They're going to go to all of them and try to do 10 times as much to get the people in the streets, right? So they're going to have food, going to all government workers and tell them that it's mandatory that they show up, or else they're going to get punished if they don't show up. They're going to empty the schools. They're going to go into all the high schools, elementary schools, and the one in the middle, Rahnamai, and they're going to basically say, bring all your students there, and it's going to be mandatory for the students to show up. They're going to bribe people. They're going to punish people. They're going to use a carrot and stick approach. So they're going to basically use all their resources to try to make sure a high number of people show up. So what do you think, by the way, Musi?
Yeah, well, I think you're probably right that there's going to be like higher amounts of security, and they probably are going to entice people to come out. And I also think that'll be really fitting with how these Arab proxies and all these groups always attacking Israel, like on their holy days, that it would be so fitting that if they decided to attack them on their big day coming up, it would be a very fitting. I think it would be like justice served right there. But another thing I was going to ask you was,
Before you move on to the other thing, I just want to
sorry.
also say that I wouldn't be surprised if they're gonna bring kebab, and they're going to make sure the smell of meat is going to be filling the streets, because remember, a lot of Iranians haven't been eating meat for a very long time because of the inflation, and filling the streets with the smell of kebab is going to be one of their strategies to get people, like, giving free food out there, especially for Iranians who can't afford food right now, is going to be one of their strategies to try to get people to come and join the protest.
Yeah, and it's all about optics for them. It's like, yeah, let's just try to get as much people out and try to make propaganda to see, oh, look, we have so many people that support us. Like, yeah, it's all a game they've been playing for 47 years. So I wouldn't be surprising that they try everything. You can see how many propaganda videos they have lately of a defenseless USS Abraham Lincoln there. So I was gonna actually ask you. I was thinking, we all know, and a lot of people that even when I talk to right inside of Iran, they know that the end is like coming. Like, they know that no matter what, that this thing is not going to survive, even if it's going to take more lives, and even if there's no outside help, that it is coming, and it's going to be within a not too long of a period anymore. Do you think that, I'm sure that some of the people like in the regime know this too. Like, I know that they fill themselves with all this stuff and propaganda. They probably believe what they're saying, and maybe not the very closest ones to Khamenei, but I would think that some of the other ones, maybe just one level down, probably understand that it's coming. So what do you think that it would actually take for them to, you know, pack their bags and leave, the sinking ship? Do you think, like, what is the actual thing that has to happen before they're like, okay, it's gonna be too late for us, and the people will get us? You know what I mean? Like, it's coming. We know it's coming 6 months down the road. So how long are we gonna wait before we actually take off and leave?
I don't think they're convinced that they're going to be toppled. I think if they were convinced, like, the ones who are convinced are already making plans for their own security. I think some of the reformers are convinced, and they're now trying to position themselves in the way to look like some of them, not all the reformers, but some reformers are positioning themselves to look like they had the right position, so that maybe people will show mercy when everything falls apart. But I think that the calculation of some of the people with the Islamic Republic right now is that they will just come, like United States and Israel will just come bomb a couple of things, and then they will go back, and we will just have some costs associated with that, but we will recover. And the idea is that at the end of the day, all it takes for us to be in power is just to show the Iranian people that if they come into the streets, we'll just continue to shoot them in the tens of thousands, right? In their opinion, there is really nothing that could stop them from just basically continue to inflict maximum damage to the Iranians inside Iran who want regime change. And their understanding is that you can't do regime change from the air. So you come and bomb different, military bases or government buildings. And for any politicians that you kill, we have other ones who could take their place right away. And the only thing that would take us down is the Iranian people. And so far, it seems very easy to just shoot at unarmed people. So we're good, right? That's their calculation. But the main thing that they need to include in their calculation and therefore be terrified is that their own people are defecting more and more every year. You know what I mean? Like they used to be at, I don't know, 12%. Then they had 12% support. Then they had 6% support. I don't know if they even have 4% support right now. I mean, if we keep going like this, can you keep staying in power with 1% support at some point? So there's three elements that they have to take into account: external pressure, US and Israel; internal pressure number one, which is the Iranian people wanting to topple the regime; but internal pressure number two, division among themselves, infighting, and people defecting. I think the third element is what eventually will take them down, and they need to take that, like, if that should be the thing that terrifies them. But right now, a lot of them feel safe because, like, look, even like millions of people showed up in the streets. We shot at them. They're back home now. We could do this forever. Their calculation is we could keep doing this forever.
I
Okay.
don't.
But
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
I
last
just
point. Make your last point, but then yeah, go on. Last point.
no. I just wanted to make another comment, but I don't want to take anybody's time, so I'll just wait till the end, like if there's any time.
Is
So
it
thank.
about? Thank you, Ms.
Okay, next we have Sammy.
Sammy.
Hi again. I'd like to ask you a few questions based on my insight, and that insight is about the liberation of Iran, right? And there's a few things supporting it, right? And I believe the major thing that's supporting the liberation of Iran, because I have researched some facts around it, and I believe that is the vacuum in energy demands, right? Not in energy demands, but the vacuum in the energy sector, to be exact. And why am I saying so? Because I noticed a few days back that Iran has the second largest natural gas reservoirs. And I believe the main objective of the current US administration is to block the Russian lobby from importing oil and gases, right? And in my country, we are seeing that not just in my country, but in rest of the South Asian countries, which are demanding high amount of natural gases, right? And Europe also, right? Europe is still supplying Russian natural gases. Now, I believe the Trump administration would not deal with the current Islamic regime of the Iran when it comes to the fuels, right? Uh, I just want to ask whether you see it being a major factor in liberation of Iran,
Well,
because
I don't understand the question really.
like,
Can you put it in one sentence?
do you see the lack of natural gases and petroleum products in the current market being a factor for Iran's liberation from Islamic regime?
Okay. So the fact that the Islamic Republic has so much oil and gas has actually been one of the reasons why we have the Islamic Republic in charge right now. Like, so, because here, let me actually, I don't know what you mean about. Let me just tell you what I think how this influences oil and gas can contribute to dictatorial regimes staying in power longer. In my opinion, democracy is a natural result of eventually the people having more power compared to their government, to their state. So it's basically the nation and the state, and if the state is too powerful relative to the nation, then we're more likely to have a dictatorial regime. But if the nation has more power relative to the state, then the state has to be answerable to the nation, and we're more likely to have democracy. And we have three types of power: we have people power, we have economic power, and we have military power, right? And given that in a nation state model, the monopoly of violence belongs to the state, so the nation doesn't have that military power. The people themselves are the source of people power. So that leaves us with economic power. So, economic power, this is why in a deterministic model, I believe that democracy is a natural result of the people having enough economic leverage for the government for the people to be the main source of government revenue, right? So we turn into a democracy. Like, democracy is a natural thing that eventually happens when state's source of revenue comes mostly from the people, basically giving the money to the state to represent the people. So this is why having such high amount of natural resources delays us getting to that point, because the government just has so much oil and gas. Basically, just money is just coming out of the ground, right? So the state will have more economic leverage power relative to the people. So it's really hard for the people to get to the point where they could actually have any form of economic leverage, because the source of the revenue from the government doesn't come from the people, it comes from the ground, right? This is why it's really hard to get to a democratic model when you have this much oil and gas. So I don't know if you say, has is it the source of our liberation? I actually think that oil and gas is a source, is the reason why we have been in chains for this long. I don't know if that even answers the question, but yeah.
Yeah, but I have a counterpoint to that, because when you see the example of Venezuela, what we are seeing right now is some of the corporates of America controlling the development of petroleum and natural gas in the nation, right? And the way I see it, I see the current US administration, the Trump administration, trying to deviate countries like India, China, Indonesia, Thailand, the populous country which takes a lot of fuel from the Russian oil and gas, right? And I see it with Venezuela. Why cannot I see it with Iran? What's your take
I don't
on it?
understand your point that you're making with
Like,
regards to Venezuela and Russia.
we see a forced liberation in Venezuela, right, from the U.S. administration. Why
Yeah,
cannot?
but that's not because of the oil. That's the basically the oil actually caused Venezuela to be able to not be a democracy for this long. It actually contributed to that. Now that another country, it required another country come and say, like, yeah, you're not doing that. That's, I mean, Venezuela is still not democratic, by the way. So I don't know what your point is.
Yeah, but there was this forced removal of the government here.
Yeah, but
Going
but Venezuela hasn't been liberated. Maduro's regime is still in power. And also, even if it does get liberated at some point, that, like, that's not because of the oil. The oil was the source of revenue for Maduro.
Yep.
It gave them the ability to maintain power over the people.
Yep. But there's this narrative going on. America liberates wherever there is oil and natural gases. Whatever the narrative
Well,
is about.
America wouldn't need to liberate them if the oil and gas didn't cause them to be tyrannies to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I'm going to that assumption.
Last point, because I want to move on
Yeah,
after this.
exactly. I just want to have a
Sure.
counterpoint here. The reason I'm going to that narrative is because this huge demand in fuel, and Iran is sanctioned. Allies of America or the trade partners of America won't buy from Iran. Countries like India, which is like a nation apart from Iran, which has
Obviously, the oil and gas has a major reason why United States is interested in this area to begin with. But again, that doesn't negate my point, because you have to dismiss everything that came before it that got us to the point where we have tyranny to begin with.